Hi, I'm Tony Nichols, and welcome to Chamber Chat. Welcome to Chamber Chat, a program put together by the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce for the sole purpose of keeping you informed on what's going on at the Chamber of Commerce. Today's program, we'd like to let you know, is sponsored by Matice, who we'll hear from later in the program. But first, our first guest today is the Vice President of the Advocacy Division, John Cannon. John, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
John, we've talked about our definition of committees going into networks, and in your division there is a large array of topics that you can address. But overall, tell us what the Advocacy Division is all about.
The Advocacy Division is the division of the Chamber that acts as a liaison between the Chamber and the business community, as well as the government agencies, elected officials. Our purpose is to make sure that we monitor legislation on the local level, the state, and the federal level as well, and inform the membership of what is pending and what may impact their local businesses.
That sounds like it can turn into quite a chore. As far as the networks go, what networks or what you would formally call committees, what networks are there in under your division?
We break it down into, of course, the four governmental agencies, as I would say, the federal, the state, the local being the county, and the city as well. So there's sort of four areas which we sort of monitor on an ongoing basis. We find that we've had a great luck with the local level. The county and the city have been fantastic.
A lot of synergy.
Yes. With the state and the federal, it's a little bit different because those are not elected officials necessarily from this area alone. Mm-hmm. So you do have representatives who are passing legislation and regulations and laws that may have good intentions but may not be in the best interest of those people on the Eastern Shore.
Right. Do you think it's just a matter of us getting the voice out in terms of the state legislation, or is it just simply them not really understanding the impact it's going to make on the shore?
I think it's a combination of both, and that's why we try to make sure that the membership is well informed. We also have John Allen from Delmarva Power, mm-hmm. who is on the State Chamber Board to keep in tune with what issues are developing from that perspective. Right now you're seeing from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they're passing down a lot of mandates on the state, and the state in turn is passing this down to the local level. So that's where it starts, and that's where it's good to catch it sometimes. The Environmental Protection Agency, the Maryland Department of the Environment, the Maryland Department of Agriculture as well. More recently, I think everyone's heard about the issues with the phosphorus management tools.
Hot topic.
Yes, which is impacting agribusiness, mm-hmm. and that's extremely important on the Eastern Shore for us.
I want to get into maybe some more specifics in a few minutes about what you have on the table now that's in front of us. But it sounds like while your reach goes up to the state level, we're really addressing more issues on a local level. Would that be true?
Yeah, it all comes down to the local level, unfortunately. With the county in particular, the county has done a great job. The county is very pro-business and has been for some time now. They've managed to decouple the real estate tax from the property tax. They're phasing out the inventory tax. They're streamlining efforts as far as exemptions from manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So I think they've taken a lot of initiative. They're dealing now mostly with, as I said, the water implementation plan, which will at some point in time come to Wycomico County, which is a measure of the state raising funds to offset any type of cleanup for the Chesapeake Bay. Right. That's also going down to the city of Salisbury as well. They're looking at stormwater utility fees. Mm-hmm. Again, it's the state mandating to the county and the city that they want to see more funding coming from the local level to help pay for a state and federal initiative.
It's easy to pick out how legislation that's enacted can impact a business in the area.
Right.
Why is it important to me as just a regular citizen that doesn't own a business?
Well, any citizen on the Eastern Shore is impacted by any business on the Eastern Shore, not only just because it may impact your job individually, but it also has a great deal to do with the economy of the Eastern Shore and how successful we are as an economy on the Eastern Shore.
Very well. What are some of the current projects that your division is taking a look at right now?
Right now, on a federal level, of course, everyone knows about the Affordable Care Act, and we're making every effort we can to inform the membership on how that's impacting their business, what's involved. One part of that is part of the mandate on the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, is what's been established as a new guideline on the work week, 30-hour work week to be specific. Everybody, of course, is familiar with a 40-hour work week. Well, in the Obamacare, in order for business to give benefits to their particular employees, right, a larger business, they're establishing a 30-hour work week. And we're trying to see what we can do to work from our level to get that back to the standard bar of a 40-hour work week. On the state level, we're looking at, right now, as I said before, the phosphorus management tools affecting agribusiness, watershed implementation plan, which is monies that the county is going to have to raise, which would impact businesses, we feel, in a negative sense. The stormwater utility for the city. And there's also the issue of minimum wage, which is being tossed around now in this next session. Sure. Mm-hmm. And they want to increase the minimum wage, which we feel, our membership feels, may be somewhat of have a negative impact on business as a whole on the Eastern Shore.
Right. All the areas, there almost seems not to be a small project when it comes to something like this, because while any kind of legislation that's enacted may seem to have a small ripple effect, at the end of the day, even the smallest change in legislation can impact a community or a business in a dramatic way that you don't see necessarily right up front, like the 30-hour work week.
Right.
That not only looks at, in terms of, I understand, not necessarily only the healthcare aspect, but then unemployment is based on a 40-hour work week. Right. It just drills right down into things that you wouldn't even think of ordinarily. Well, tell us how people can get involved with the Advocacy Committee and what they can do to make an impact.
The easiest way, of course, is to contact the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. We have Ernie Colburn, who's the CEO, and he's a great asset to the chamber. Agreed. But they could certainly contact Ernie or any chamber member and become active, become a member of the chamber and become active, because the more people that we have, the greater voice that we do have. Right. And we do need, as a business, we do need a large unified voice, in order to make an impact on all levels of government.
Any parting words you'd like to leave us with?
I'd just like to say that it has been very rewarding to be a part of this. And I'm very surprised. I think that the public needs to know that, especially with our local legislators and our locally elected officials in the county and the right. city, we're seeing such a positive and pro-business attitude, and it's very refreshing and exciting to be a part of that and to be able to make those changes. It's been very beneficial from my perspective, and I think the chamber as a whole to be a part of the change of the direction that we're going on all levels of government.
Very good. John Cannon, Vice President, Advocacy Division, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'd like to give you an opportunity now to take a look at some of the upcoming events with the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat on PAC 14. Joining us now is this edition's sponsor, Kevin Justice, the CEO of Matice. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us what Matice is and does.
Matice is a marketing, advertising, and PR firm, and what we do is design creative marketing materials to promote your business.
that's a pretty broad term when you say marketing and advertising.
Yes, definitely.
Give us some idea of different ways businesses, and it's probably going to change from business to business, how a business can market their company.
Sure. There are a substantial number of ways. From a traditional media standpoint, you've got everything from flyers and newspapers, magazines, television, radio, billboards, attending expos, being part of a chamber, those sorts of things. From a new media perspective, though, you take a look at everything from your website, social media, pay-per-click advertising, email marketing, and all of those ways that are, everything, even including Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. They're very effective.
A couple of things in there. Nowadays, it's so inexpensive to have a website. Everyone needs to have a website. Everyone needs to have a Facebook page, LinkedIn and Twitter. All those things are relatively easy for I would think, for a company like you to set up. Stepping back into the expos, I think that's where really a lot of people get a little squeamish in terms of what do you do, how do you do, what kind of stuff do I buy? Can you speak to what you might do differently at an expo versus what you would do in electronic formats?
Sure. Well, an expo, the key is meeting with your potential customers one-on-one. You've got people coming up to your booth that obviously have some sort of interest in your company, hopefully not just to take the knickknacks that you put out on your table. But if you're in an expo where it's a lot of your competitors around you, you've got to do something that is going to make a difference and show that you stand out from your competitors. Whether that be having a very highly designed backdrop, or could be everyone dresses up in orange jumpsuits, something to draw the attention.
Gotcha. I was going to you stole my thunder. I was going to ask you with an expo and in business in general, the question is, why should I do business with you? Or why should you do business with me? So being able to separate yourself from the herd, so to speak, whether it be with the jumpsuit or a backdrop, I think I have found in the expos that I've been in, that's been pretty vital. How should you decide on how to market your business, the things to do, whether you should wear the jumpsuit or whether you should have the fancy backdrop?
Sure.
There's got to be a process or a thought process that you go through.
Yeah, and it really depends on your business. It's all based on the demographics of your target audience. So you have to really analyze who is that target person that you're going after. For example, a nail salon is going to be targeting, women of a certain age range, versus a real estate company is looking for potential home buyers and home sellers. You could use some of the same type of marketing methods. You could both have television commercials and that sort of thing. However, even a television commercial can be targeted to the demographic based on how it's shot and even what channels it plays on and what time of day it plays on. So those are all considerations to take into effect. You have to look at who you're marketing to and make sure that your marketing mix matches what your demographics are.
That leads me to the next question when you look at determining the market and how you're going to advertise to those people. How do you guide people through, and I know you've never heard, I know no one's ever had sticker shock when they go to market themselves or to market their company. So how do you determine and guide people through a process of coming up with a budget even for marketing?
Sure. Well, first it's critical to have a marketing budget because most businesses that come to us haven't even thought through that process. I would venture to say that many companies don't even do a full budget for their company for the year. So of course they haven't gone that extra step and made a marketing budget. But having a budget is basically a subset of having a marketing plan. And if you have a marketing plan, you're being proactive about your marketing and advertising efforts. Because obviously you want to drive to your key demographics, you want to understand your expenses and plan for what you think you can spend. Typically what will happen with companies that don't have a budget is some new advertising media company will come in and offer them something, and if they think it sounds good, they'll buy it, and if they don't think it sounds good, they won't, without actually analyzing if it matches their marketing strategy, if it's going towards the demographics they're trying to serve. So a key aspect of developing a plan is part of developing everything from the demographics through what are the media types that best fit them.
I would think along those lines, when in the past few years, the economy has been less than roaring, and unless someone has a strategic marketing budget built into their overall budget, that's the first thing people look at in cutting. In many cases, it's the last thing they should cut. But unless it's ingrained into that budget, that's an easy target, I would think, to cut out.
Sure. And what we found was that definitely everyone was cutting out all of those aspects of their business in terms of advertising. And you're right, you have to keep marketing, you have to keep advertising. What we were trying to do to help companies was look at more of the affordable methods to go out there. Especially when you look at a lot of the new media, it's a lot less expensive than, obviously television commercials and magazine ads and so forth. So when you think about social media marketing, where you can get right in front of your potential customers, or pay-per-click marketing where you're guaranteed a top spot in Google search results, those are the types of things that are more affordable, and we've been helping customers utilize those when they have a downturn in their business and don't feel like they have the money to put towards some of those bigger ticket items.
You're making me look better than I really am, because I wanted to lead into the return on investment. The idea of a business owner spending $1 on whatever it is they spend it on. There needs to be a way to determine if there's a return on that investment, because you just don't want to spend money for the sake of spending money. Tell us some ways. You just spoke of some internet ways or technology that can track this, but tell us some ways on how you would determine what the return on investment would be.
Sure. And the key to all of that is tracking it. If you haven't tracked it, you don't know how successful that program is, whether it be a magazine ad or a television commercial. And tracking can be as simple as in your ad, let's say it's a television commercial saying, mention you saw us on blah, 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 and you'll get 10% off. And as long as your people who are meeting that customer will write down the fact that, oh yes, they said they saw us somewhere, you can track it easily as, pad of pencil and paper, that sort of thing. You could do that. There are obviously automated ways we can help track though as well. We can actually set up tracking for telephone numbers so that a specific telephone number might be used in an ad, and we can track how many calls came over that telephone number. When you get into any of the web technologies, those are very easy to track with things like Google Analytics and some of the other programs. It doesn't even have to be something on your website. As long as it's on the web, we can usually create tracking methods for that to tell you how many people have looked at that and taken action based on your advertisement.
Very good. Well, Kevin, we'd like to thank you for joining us on Chamber Chat. You've certainly given us a lot to think about.
Thanks for having me.
We'd like to give you another opportunity to take a look at the upcoming events for the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat on PAC 14. Joining us now is Jackie Gast, the Director of ESBLN. Jackie, welcome to the program.
Welcome, thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and get this acronym out of the way. Tell us what ESBLN stands for and what you do.
ESBLN is the Eastern Shore Business Leadership Network, and we promote the benefits of employing people with disabilities. Okay. And we are based at the Salisbury area Chamber of Commerce, although we do work with chambers all up and down the shore and a little bit into Delaware.
I just recently found out that the Eastern Shore Business Leaders Network is also part of a national organization that there are several BLNs across the nation.
There's more than several. You're right, Tony. There are over 50 BLNs across the country.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's quite big. They have a U.S. BLN that kind of oversees all the, I guess, kind of the parent of all the BLNs. We are one of 3, I believe, that are associated with chambers. So we're pretty unique, and we were the very first one to be a part of a chamber.
Well, there's the Salisbury Chamber of Commerce being first again in something.
Right.
So that's awesome.
That's
we're glad to
right.
be affiliated with that. Tell us why ESBLN is important to employers, or should be important to employers.
Well, more recently, let me back up. In the past, the BLN was mostly just PR.
Okay.
And raising awareness about the ability of people with disabilities. But more recently, we've gotten into actually serving folks with disabilities. Over the years, we have made connections through chamber members and have actually had people with disabilities who are ready to get back into the workforce make connections and are still working today. So I think our one that's been working the longest that I've personally been involved with has been working, I think 5 or 6 years now. So good employee, good solid worker. So now we are working with a number of individuals and working to try to get them back into the workforce through a grant that through a contract with Social Security Administration called Ticket to Work. And Ticket to Work's been around for a really long time, but they're trying it out now with BLNs. And we're one of 3 or 4 BLNs across the country who are taking this on and getting folks who are on Social Security benefits back into the workforce.
You spoke about federal benefits. You and I were in a meeting not long ago where you were talking about how in many cases people that are on federal benefits think that that's all there is left. And when actually, if you can help them find work financially, many times they're in a better spot.
That's correct, Tony. And the thing is that people don't understand those benefits. And so there's employers get folks all the time that say, I can't work more than so many hours because I'm going to lose my benefits. Now, I'm not talking about retirees.
Right.
That's different. I'm talking about younger people, people with disabilities who have public assistance. When, for example, we had a young lady just recently who wanted to work, and she was actually offered a job. But then she just kind of panicked and said, I can't take this job because I'm going to lose my benefits.
Kind of harder, right?
Well, she was going to have a reduction in her benefits, but what she didn't realize when we actually put all the numbers down on paper, that she was better off by about 15% in a month.
Wow, that's a big number.
It is a big number. And so but she was ready to say, no, I can't work because I'm going to lose my benefits. But she didn't think about how she was increasing her pay with earnings. So,
I think that can make a tremendous impact, not only from a business perspective, but from a personal perspective, where people that want to work, to know that they can seek employment and not hurt themselves, in many cases better themselves. I think that would empower them to look a little bit harder, rather than just sit back and think that this is all that's left.
That's exactly right, and that's what we talk about is independence through employment. And our goal is to help these people get, or anybody who's wants to work on benefits, to get off benefits. That's the end goal. Is not, and so we're going to reduce the federal deficit by doing it too, right?
Okay. I'm all for that.
Every little step, step helps.
I think there's some legislation pending from the affirmative action standpoint about people with disabilities.
Yes, it's Regulation 503. It is about actually, there's always been affirmative action with hiring people with disabilities. People with disabilities are part of that protected group, just like any other minority. But it was always kind of an honor system in the past, where you didn't have to document how many people with disabilities you have, because it's a catch-22, because you're not allowed to ask if the person has a disability. So it is going to be required that employers who have over 50 employers, there's other requirements and of who has to abide by this new regulation, and it's not effective till March. But there are ways that you're going to be able to ask. People can self-disclose. You can ask to self-disclose, but it's going to be, it's basically for all federal contractors and their subcontractors.
Gotcha. So if you have a certain amount of dollars in federal contracts, then or 50, whatever that threshold is.
50 employees or more, and I think it's 10,000 in federal revenue. But we have more details on that with our on our website.
Gotcha. Do you provide any kind of support? I know you provide the support and advocacy for the people seeking employment. What about the employers? Those employers that maybe afraid to even have the conversation. Do you provide any support for them, any kind of training for them?
Yes, we do. We just became, thank you for asking. We just became approved to provide an Americans with Disabilities Act training, ADA training. So we're trained through an ADA leadership network, and they have developed training modules for like over 90, and they were developed by Cornell University.
Okay.
So we're able to provide those to anyone who would like to have that kind of training, and it covers accessibility, it covers accommodation requests, anything facility-wise, whether your facility is welcoming,
okay.
The consumer market, whether you're welcoming to your customers, and whether your aisles are wide enough. And a lot of people think they are in compliance when in actuality they really aren't. And it's funny, there was an example of a woman who was going into a hotel that they said the hotel was accessible, and getting in the front door it was, getting in the elevator it was, but when they actually got to their room, there was a step to get up into the room, and this person was in a wheelchair and couldn't get in there. But the room was totally accessible.
And you would never otherwise think of something like that.
No,
right.
No, and it's interesting, but it's a lot of times you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I find many times where people who think they are in compliance are not. Right. And it's not a big deal to make the change.
Right. Is this training that is something that you're going to begin to roll out? Is it already available, or is that just a more to come?
We're ready to roll it out. We just need to do the scheduling of it, and so we're ready to roll. And anybody who would like to have training at their work site in their own facilities, we'd be willing to come and do that,
so
and customize it.
Just hit your website or give you guys a call, and you would set that up, and you will actually come to the job site and provide this training, I'm assuming, and go through the assessment of their facility as well?
Yep, we can do that. We can do that, and we also plan to have some trainings at the Chamber too, maybe some lunch and learns and that sort of thing. So we're still working on how we're going to roll that out.
I think that would be well attended.
But hopefully by the beginning of the year we'll have a schedule out.
Well, in closing, can you give us the website address?
Yes, I can. It's www.esbln.org.
Jackie Gast, Director of ESBLN, thanks for joining us on Chamber Chat.
Thank you, Tony.
We'd like to thank you for joining us as well as thanking Matice for being this month's sponsor. We also encourage you to contact the Chamber if you have any topics that you'd like to see, or if you'd like to appear on Chamber Chat. If you've missed any episodes or any segments that you would like to go back and revisit, we'd encourage you to visit PAC 14's website and utilize their on-demand function. Or you can visit the Chamber's website and view past episodes on the Chamber's blog, The Chamber Voice. Well, I'm Tony Nichols. That's a wrap for this episode. We encourage you to make a difference.